Thank you for bringing your stories, your scholarship, your art, and your courage to our forum. Let this festival be a space of inquiry, not of conclusion. Let it be a space where we write ourselves into history, where we carve our words on the walls of time, and where we imagine new futures together, where we are truly unmuted. Finally, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Professor Pamela Nichols, whose vision, dedication, and tireless work have made this festival not only possible, but profoundly meaningful. Her leadership at the Wits writing program has transformed how we think about writing as a civic, moral, and intellectual act. Professor Nichols' contributions to the Academy continue to shape generations of scholars, of writers, and thinkers, and this festival, Pam, stands as a testament to your unwavering commitment to inclusive, dialogic, and transformative learning. A round of applause for Professor Nichols, please. Thank you very much, Prof. Nichols, and welcome everyone to the Wits Writing Festival 2025. Thank you.
So we're very happy to have Professor Townsend with us. The writing program wouldn't have been possible without Marty. In 2006, I had a sabbatical, and I knew that there was this flagship writing program in the States, which works on this principle of writing as thinking, which has run for a very long while, I think say 50 years or something, 40 years, and it has been a model for many places. So it's taking writing out of being remediation, and it's putting writing throughout the university as the vehicle of course content. Actually, engineering was one of the very first people who bought into the idea because they know about teams and they know about the importance of communication between teams. So there was this beautiful program headed by Marty, who let me stay in her home and gave me all the right documents. So lots of our processes, Marty said, you'll need this, you'll need this, you'll need this. I did. We needed all of it. So a lot of our aims have been adapted from the University of Missouri. So through her generosity, the writing program has been possible and has rooted itself here. And I think that was a hugely important act. Also, I'm glad for you to meet Marty because she's been one of the central figures in the Writing Across the Curriculum movement in the States. So this is all about inclusion, practicality, not making English a fetish, making it something that everyone can learn and be powerful in and act. It's a progressive gift from America to the world. It's absolutely not about imperializing imperial work. I think the writing movement was always about what do you say? What do you say? Here's your argument. How can you say it better? It was all about inclusion. In the 1960s, when the universities opened up and more people went to the universities, it was people in the writing movement who found ways for that very diverse classroom to start talking to each other, learning from each other, acting within the academy. So you'll find a lot of quite powerful and subversive writing teachers around and in the past. So we're very grateful, Marty, that you've come to speak and be the keynote at our festival. Thank you.
I want to thank Pam, who has left the room, for that generous introduction. And to be clear that I had far less to do with our writing program and its success than did our instructors. It's really our faculty and our students and our administrators who make this program work. And I just sort of move all the pieces around on like a puzzle. Marty Townsend's literacy narrative, or How I Became an English Professor. Growing up in small towns in the Midwest US, my two younger brothers, John and David, and I all knew that we were expected to go to college after high school. Our parents, despite their long, meager means, had both attended higher education. My dad to become a Lutheran minister and Mom to become a liturgical pipe organist. And we would too, something along those lines. Higher ed wasn't about making money, it was about learning and then doing something with your life. I've always thought it's remarkable that it's my father's voice that I recall as the first human voice I ever heard. No one else seems to talk about this in their lives, but my memory is very clear on it. As the firstborn, I was the only child around during my parents' young marriage at very end of World War II and in the earliest days of Dad's ministerial life. As a new young minister, he used to prepare his sermons with great care, even to the point of asking my mother to listen to his delivery and critique his content. She fancied herself a superb grammarian and an even better analyst of his message. So every Saturday afternoon, they would sit together in a little room off our kitchen, with me toddling around their feet and legs. Dad would read aloud the sermon he'd been working on all week, and she would interject whenever she felt necessary. Now, the tradition in the Lutheran Church is that the congregants are willing to sit and listen attentively for precisely 20 minutes, but no more. At about the 19-minute mark, feet will shuffle, gum wrappers will be ripped open, children who are old enough to be sent to the restroom on their own will go, and hymnals will be taken out of their resting places to prepare for the next hymn. Periodically during their Saturday sermon critiques then, my mother would speak out firmly, "Henry, that's 20 minutes. Where are you going to cut?" She was not a kindly teacher. Dad would study his text for a few moments and have another go at it. Only this time the threat would be invoked. "Henry, you know you're going too long. I will cut you off by starting the offertory." And the ushers are properly trained to begin passing the offering plates when I play the organ. They know what to do, and I'm their cue. Dad never challenged her by going beyond his allotted 20 minutes. I think she was sorry she never got the chance to cut him off. Dad never challenged that time limit, but she would move from her front row reserved seat to the organ bench nearby as a cue to him that his time was running out. Their antics became conversation at every Sunday dinner when church was over. What's remarkable to me after all these years is that although Mom's words are the ones I quote here, it's Dad's sermon voice that I prioritize in my memory, likely out of respect for his life's work. We have a squatter if you would, please. Just hold it. Long about the same time of growing up, I spent hours sitting on the brick wall that extended from the church itself out to the street, separating the church property from the neighbor's yard, making the space a kind of literal connection between my body, the wall, and the church, while I wrote letters to pen pals, friends, relatives, and myself. The space was cool, quiet, and private. No one ever disturbed me, and I savored the time alone with my thoughts and special stationery. Now and then I'd slip off the wall and walk up the hill to the post office to see if our box held any return letters for me. Occasionally there was one or two, and I took them back to my private space and read them with solemn reverence. I made slightly better grades than John or David. Honor roll, Latin club, student council, local honor society, all that sort of stuff. I also won a couple of essay contests, one sponsored by the Betty Crocker Baking Company, in which I argued that the very best preparation for motherhood would be to have a college education, and one sponsored by the American Woodmen Association. I never did know who they were. Titled "My Country, a World Citizen," about America's involvement in the UN. That was when we had to write and then deliver from memory to a panel of judges. We never knew when these things were coming along. We were merely told to take a pen and report to the gym, where we'd get further instructions. Participation wasn't an option, but an order. I didn't mind, though. I enjoyed seeing what I could spin out of my brain. All too soon, it was time for college. But instead of Dad's stuffy alma mater, the private Lutheran liberal arts college, stuck in the middle of an Illinois cornfield, which my parents couldn't afford. Anyway, even though the children of clergy received a 50% discount on tuition, I was hoping for something else. Dad had taken me to visit Carthage a year earlier in hopes that I would fall in love with it. As it turned out, the week we visited is when President John Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Carthage canceled classes and sent students home for the remainder of the week, so there wasn't much happening. Dad and I drove home in our modest brown Ford sedan, not talking much, just listening to the news coverage in our car radio, feeling sad and uncertain. I didn't dislike Carthage College, but I didn't fall in love with it either. Too small, too rural, too not me. I craved more excitement. Or maybe I craved the boyfriend I'd made the summer before, who was already a student at the more desirable and less expensive University of Illinois. In any case, I did well enough, mostly A's and B's, with one horrific D in French, a class for which I simply did not study. Years later, I realized that single D prevented me from earning a magna cum laude on my undergraduate diploma. I didn't particularly enjoy learning for learning's sake, but I did like the freedom, social life, and cultural opportunities that came with my English curriculum. I loved taking my mom to see Labor's Lost on Mothers and Daughters Weekend. I equally enjoyed taking my boyfriend to see not one but two new movies with the money I'd received from my very first income tax return. Goldfinger and My Fair Lady, and dinner between them. That $21 refund That $21 refund went a lot farther than it would now. I felt so grown up making such classy decisions. Can anyone guess what year that was? Nobody? I won't hold it against you. 60-something. I'll let that question hang. We'll talk about it after the talk. In the middle of my freshman year, at Christmas time, boyfriend gave me a ring and we agreed to be married the following summer. Not quite sure that was in my long-term plan, but there you are. In those days, the custom was the woman would quit school and go to work to support the couple while the guy finished his college work. Then when he was finished, she would go back to school to finish her degree. That was our plan too. By the time he got his studies organized and him graduated, we were ready to start a family. He got a job on the corporate fast track, and we were reaching new goals. Two kids later, multiple job promotions for him, multiple homes, and multiple moves across the country. I'd been out of school for 15 years. My title, according to Ms. Magazine at the time, was Consummate Corporate Housewife. Not willing to carry that title any longer, and realizing that I needed to get my own education back on track, our very next corporate move to Salt Lake City, I headed straight to the University of Utah and enrolled myself in the English graduate program. The enrollment included a graduate teaching assistantship, meaning that I taught 2 sections of first-year composition under the supervision of the head of the unit and took 2 courses per semester toward my master's degree. I scheduled my teaching and coursework for the hours my children were in elementary school. Everything seemed to be working out, especially having found my passion. I wanted to teach college writing, to students not just in their first year English course, but in all of their courses, in any discipline. Even more, I wanted to direct the program I was teaching in. My dean sent me to a summer program at Bryn Mawr College in Pennsylvania titled Women in Higher Education Administration. This opportunity showed many more possibilities. The new curriculum I was studying was called Writing Across the Curriculum, or Writing in the Disciplines. Having found this new focus meant lots of other answers were available, realizing, for example, that I could obtain support from the Ford Foundation for my doctoral research. Moreover, I could be surrounded by words, letters, books, libraries, and more for a whole career. Despite a few sizable glitches in securing my department's approval for my non-traditional dissertation, I finished my doctoral work in 5 years and got what I've always referred to as an English graduate student's dream job come true. My work in writing across the curriculum and writing in the disciplines has taken me to over 15 countries and allowed me to work with some of the finest teachers and researchers in academia. I'll end this story by going back to where I started in the narrative. It has also taken me back to Carthage College to consult for their writing program. I was invited to their campus to work with their faculty on assignment design for general education courses. Somehow, the registrar learned that my father had graduated from Carthage, and she began exploring their archives to see what she could find. After a very generous introduction on day one, she called me to the podium and handed me a piece of paper, saying she had to go deep into the college's microfiche departments to find this document, when she doesn't normally give out. With curious eyes, my own and about 50 pairs of eyes following me, I opened the envelope and realized I was looking at my father's transcript, complete record of his coursework with grades recorded. I felt as though I was holding him in my arms again. With teary eyes, I read his name aloud and his grades in English, Latin, and Greek, the printed proof of his study for the ministry. And with a little giggle, I announced that he had received 1B in English many years earlier. It was as though he was right there with us.